JD Vance had an absolute dog shit interview with George Stephanopoulos the other day. They talked about a couple different things, and JD Vance is just so bad at this. He is ruining his chances to be the next face of the Republican Party. He does not have the juice. He has no charisma. He's just a slimy, disgusting individual. He doesn't understand how to have conversations with people he disagrees with. It's always like he's talking at you and not to you. And that's not how it's supposed to come off in an interview, because at the end of the day, an interview is merely a conversation with another person. Fuck, even when I'm sitting here by myself, I still try not to talk down to my audience, to anybody who's watching. I'm not trying to make anybody feel stupid, because there's a difference between being misled and being stupid. I think that people like JD Vance are fucking stupid because they know better, and they are manipulating tens of millions of people.
By Vice President JD Vance. Mr. Vice President, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's start with the Middle East. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Hamas has confirmed they are holding 20 living hostages, and that those hostages are going to be released in the next 24 hours, early as today, perhaps. Have 20 living hostages been confirmed? When do you expect to see them?
Well, they've been confirmed, George. Of course, you don't know until you see these people alive, but thank God we expect to see them alive here in the next 24 hours, probably early tomorrow morning, U.S. time, which will be later in the day, of course, in Israel. But look, George, we have to remember this is a remarkable achievement from an administration that really chose a non-conventional path to diplomacy. And I think that's the major takeaway. The President of the United States instructed Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. He said, get a deal done. Talk to the Gulf Arab states, talk to Israel, find where there's common ground here, and actually let's go and find a way to get it done. And because
Why
of
do
that,
you not talk to Hamas in this instance? Like, why are they excluded from the negotiations? That's fucking dumb. They're the occupied force. They're the occupied people. They're the ones being genocided. And he told everyone in his administration, do not talk to the Palestinians. Talk to only Benjamin Netanyahu. Tell him that I love him. Give him a kiss from me, but on the cheek, because I don't want people to think I'm gay.
we are on the cusp of true peace in the Middle East, really for the first time in my lifetime. Certainly, these 20 hostages are going to come home to their families, George. I think this is a great moment for our country. Our country should be proud of our diplomats who made this happen. It's really a great moment for the world, too, which is why the president's going to go over there and celebrate with these hostages. But it's a great thing, and I'm very excited about it.
200 U.S. troops are being sent to Israel to monitor the agreement. What exactly will they be doing? Will they actually go into Gaza? And are you concerned they could get caught in some crossfire?
George, so that story is actually misreported. We already have troops at Central Command. We've had them for decades in this country. They are going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire. And that's everything from ensuring that the Israeli troops are at the agreed upon line, ensuring that Hamas is not attacking innocent Israelis, doing everything that they can to ensure the peace that we've created actually sustains and endures. But the idea that we're going to have troops on the ground in Gaza, in Israel, that is not our intention. That is not our plan. There was a bit of a misreporting there, but we are going to monitor this peace to ensure that it endures. The other piece of good news that's been underreported, I think, George, is that Indonesia and a number of other majority Muslim states, they've actually offered to send ground troops to Gaza to ensure the necessary peacekeeping takes place. That's not something the United States is going to be expected to do. That's something the Muslim world is going to step up and do. And that, again, is because of the Trump administration's diplomacy.
The president has also pushed for National Guard deployments.
Diplomacy, yeah, by the way. Diplomacy, by the way. Sending fucking armed forces to a place where tensions are already high. Yeah, diplomacy. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. I'm sure there's not the capacity for anything to get fucked up.
American cities, as you know, that's been questioned by several federal judges, including Trump appointees, also the Republican governor of Oklahoma and chairman of the National Governors Association, Kevin Stitt. Here's what Governor Stitt said. We believe in the federalist system that states' rights. Oklahomans would lose their mind if Pritzker and Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration. How do you respond to Governor Stitt?
Well, I'd say to Governor Stitt, you have to look at what's happening on the ground in Chicago. And the reason why Illinois is a different case from Chicago is because Chicago has been given over to lawlessness and gangs for too long, George. If you look at the murder rates in Chicago, the violent crime rates, you have women who have young families. They're terrified their kids are going to get killed in a drive-by shooting. We have accepted this for far too long in the United States of America. And
there are red states, cities in red states that have higher homicide rates than Chicago, by the way. Like, St. Louis, and I think Birmingham, Alabama. There is one city in Alabama, I can't recall which one. But why is Donald Trump not sending troops there? If Chicago is a war zone and St. Louis has a murder rate that is 2 times higher than Chicago's, what would that make St. Louis? And why are you not also sending troops there as well? I'm not asking for him to send troops there. I'm asking for him not to send federal troops to Chicago because you're only doing it because it is a big city in a blue state. It is being done specifically along political grounds. This is the definition of terrorism. ICE, or federal troops, going into these places and attacking, assaulting innocent civilians along political grounds is terrorism. I already made a video and talked about how ICE is a terrorist organization if you apply these standards to it. And I'm not afraid to say the same thing about the National Guard if they go in and behave in the same manner.
Our biggest cities, and Chicago, unfortunately, is the worst. It's a beautiful city. It's got great people. We know the gross majority of the violent crime in that city is committed by a very tiny fraction of the population. Why shouldn't federal troops empower the people in Chicago to live safe lives when the governor and the local mayor just simply refuse to do their job?
But as you know,
the police don't want them there either. The police don't want this fucking the police don't want these presences because they just fuck everything up.
Judge, a U.S. District Judge, has blocked the effort to deploy troops in Chicago. And it was Judge Perry, and she actually said that a lot of these claims that were made, especially in the court filings, lack credibility.
Well, George, we're obviously going to litigate this as much as we can. We think that we have the authority to provide proper safety to our citizens all over the United States, but particularly in Chicago. But I think for any federal judge or anybody else to look at the situation and say, is it tolerable? And I think the obvious answer, George, is no. The president looks at the situation. He sees the fact that you have multiple people dying of murders every weekend in the city of Chicago, and he says, this is intolerable. And it's not just the people who live in Chicago. It's the law enforcement in Chicago, federal, state, and local, who are trying to keep us safe, George. You've seen ICE agents being teed off on in suburban Chicago, in places all over the state of Illinois and other places too. You see 1,000% increase in violence against our ICE agents. They're being assaulted, they're being beaten, they're being shot at. I think all Americans, Democrat or Republican, we look at this scenario, we say, this is not acceptable. We want people to be safe. We want our law enforcement officials to be empowered to keep us safe. We can do this, and that's exactly what the Trump administration has committed to doing.
Governor Pritzker is our next guest. President Trump has said that he should be in jail. Do you think Governor Pritzker has committed a crime?
Well, I think Governor Pritzker has certainly failed to keep the people of Illinois safe. And it's interesting to me, Governor Pritzker will talk a lot, I'm sure, about how bad Donald Trump is.
I think it's a red flag if you're talking to someone and they start every sentence with, well, because you're being asked a yes or no question, basically, and just flat out refusing to give an answer. It's very simple. No, Governor Pritzker did not commit a crime. However, and this is if JD Vance is giving his rationale. However, we believe that he is not governing the state as he should or whatever. It's like, no, we don't think JD Vance, Freudian slip. Or it's like, yes, we think that JB Pritzker committed a crime for not sufficiently sucking up to the Trump administration.
It's about how bad I am and about how bad the administration is. He is the governor of a state that where its biggest city has murder rates that rival the most violent places in the third world, George. Why is he so mad at Donald Trump for trying to keep Chicagoans safe? He should be mad at the criminals that he has failed to keep at bay. We're trying to help him, and we're trying to help the residents of his biggest city. I wish that he would let us because he certainly isn't doing the job himself.
I asked if you...
But why don't you say the same thing about the governor of Missouri or the governor of Alabama? Because it's political. They try to pretend like they're these nonpartisan, like they're above partisanship for whatever reason. But everything they do is explicitly anti-Democrat. Everything he just said, I could turn around and say about the governors of the 2 states that I previously mentioned. Furthermore, nobody fucking wants you there. It's federal overreach. Why can't you accept the wishes of the people who live there and allow them to figure it out on their own? Violent crime in Chicago is dropping year over year. They're doing something that's working. Why can't you just let them continue to do that?
Agree with President Trump that Governor Pritzker has committed a crime?
Well, I think that Governor
He just
Pritzker
said,
has
well,
allowed
again. That's the third fucking time he's responded to a question with, well.
a lot of people to be killed in the city of Chicago and elsewhere, George. I think that it's disgraceful, and I think that he absolutely should suffer some consequences for the fact that there are thousands of innocent Chicagoans who are dead because he failed to do his job.
It's really a yes or no question. Do you believe he's committed a crime?
George, you're going to keep on asking this question. I'm going to keep on telling you that Governor Pritzker has
This is
failed
what
to
I
do his
mean. People watch this and they're like, this guy's annoying. I'm just giving you the facts. If you show a normal person this video, they will think that JD Vance is an annoying, petulant child. Very much like how if they watch Stephen Miller, they'll go, this guy's a bald, short crybaby. Why is he behaving in this manner? And George, mind you, is doing the bare minimum when it comes to journalistic practices. He's just reiterating, hey, it's yes or no. Can I get a yes or no answer, please? And JD Vance is like, well, we're actually going to make it illegal for people not to praise the president. This guy is going to get fucking embarrassed if he runs for president. I think that if Tim Scott and JD Vance were both running for the Republican nominee, Tim Scott would poll similarly to JD Vance. He just does not have it.
job. He should suffer some consequences. Whether he's violated a crime, ultimately, I would leave to the courts. But
he should suffer some consequences for a crime that he potentially didn't commit. Do you see how fucking silly these people are?
Think that he has violated his fundamental oath of office. That seems pretty criminal to me. I'd leave it to a judge and jury to decide whether he's actually violated the crime.
Let me also ask you, as we saw the indictment this week of Letitia James on questions of mortgage fraud, also Lisa Cook has been accused by the Trump administration of committing mortgage fraud as well. The journalism outlet ProPublica has actually published a story, and I want to show it up on the screen right now, that says that several members of the Trump administration have faced similar questions. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer entered into 2 primary residence mortgages in quick succession. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has primary residence mortgages in New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Lee Zeldin, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator, has 1 primary residence mortgage in Long Island and another in Washington, D.C. How do you respond to critics who say that the Trump administration is engaging in a double standard here?
Well, I'd say 2 things, George.
Well,
First of all, ProPublica is basically...
When I watched this the first time, I didn't realize that he just answered every question with, well. I'm also laughing extra hard because I'm thinking about this tweet from Internet Hippo where where we've reached a point where Republicans will just describe crimes as generically as possible. Like someone will be accused of conspiracy and they're like, wow, it's illegal to make plans with friends now.
a left-wing blog. I'm not shocked that you found a left-wing blog that can attack members of the Trump administration. But second, and this is the most important, is what does the law say? Letitia James was indicted in a left-leaning part of our country, a part that voted very heavily against Donald J. Trump for the crime of mortgage fraud. When I read the indictment, when I read the facts in the case, I see a person who committed mortgage fraud. Now, of course, the jury...
Yeah, but you're fucking stupid, JD Vance. You're... First of all, ProPublica is not a left-wing tabloid. They're an actual journalistic institution. And they listed 3 Republicans who could also be indicted on mortgage fraud. And your cognitive dissonance is so cavernous that you can't draw that connection. Probably because you're being purposefully obtuse. What George is asking is, hey, if Letitia James is being accused of this, shouldn't these folks in your administration be accused of that as well? And he says, well, it's actually different if you're a member of the Trump administration because we're allowed to commit crime. We're allowed to do whatever we want because we're the big bad gang around this town. And if you're a Democrat, you can't do anything.
Is going to decide whether she ultimately committed a crime. We don't try her. The administration doesn't try her. A judge tries the case, and a jury decides whether she's ultimately guilty. That is what is going to determine whether she goes to prison. I think we let the facts drive this. And, George, that's what we've tried to do in the administration's Department of Justice. We've asked ourselves, has a person violated the law? And if that person has violated the law, then we decide to prosecute him. That's what the Department of Justice should do. It didn't do that under Joe Biden's administration. It does under Donald Trump's.
On the facts, do you dispute the facts that ProPublica reported?
Do I dispute a far left blog that I haven't read that you brought up in this interview? I have no idea, George. I have no idea what they actually said. but I certainly question the source. I question their credibility. And most importantly, I'm not worried about what they said about members of our administration. I ask the question, what does the law say? And if the law says that you engage in mortgage fraud and a local prosecutor, a local grand jury, and finally a jury convicts you of that crime, then that is how the justice system is meant to work in the United States of America.
This political archetype just simply doesn't work anymore. Imagine it's 2015. I want all my basketball fans to think back to the 2015-16 season. We are balls deep in pace and space. We have multiple guys making 300, 400 threes per season. You are not cutting it as a point guard who doesn't shoot threes. Very much like how JD Vance is not going to cut it as a buttoned up politician. He reads too much as a politician. People don't want that anymore. They don't want fake intellectuals. They don't want people to be political all the time. They want people to be real. They want people to say what the fuck is going on. They want people to speak their mind freely. This is why all of the popular politicians, regardless of what side of the spectrum they're on, all speak in this similar way. You could see the appeal for Donald Trump very much like how you could see the appeal for Bernie Sanders or AOC, because for better or worse, those people are fucking real. And when they talk, you believe what they have to say. I'm talking about Trump more so the first time he ran for president. Now he's just a blithering idiot who rambles incoherently. But Donald Trump, when he won the presidency in 2016, that is why people resonated with him. That is especially true if you're not a Barack Obama type, right? Barack Obama is very buttoned up. He seems very political, but he is a masterful orator. He's a terrific speaker. When he talks, you are captivated. JD Vance has JD Vance is as captivating as a wilted sunflower. This guy is not drawing any attention.
As borders are Tom Homan.
Because all he does is deflect. He refuses to answer a question in earnest. He tries to obfuscate every question by making up some bullshit schizophrenic hallucination that didn't happen. And people just don't like it.
Was recorded on an FBI surveillance tape in September 2024, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money or give it back?
George, you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law. I think it's really preposterous. I know Tom. I think that he's a good man. He gets death threats. He gets attacked. He gets constantly threatened by people because he has the audacity to want to enforce the country's immigration laws. I
hate a motherfucker that's like, oh, this person gets death threats. I get death threats, man, for the audacity of saying that we should have free health care, for the audacity of saying fuck Donald Trump. Again, wait, hold on. Did he start his response with well?
Surveillance tape in September 2024, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money or give it back?
George, you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law. I think it's really preposterous. I know Tom.
JD Vance is just lying. This is not true. This is an inaccurate representation of the facts. The fact of the matter is that Tom Homan got caught on wax either accepting a bribe from undercover FBI agents or saying that he would accept a bribe. He, with the intention of accepting a bribe of $50,000 for guaranteeing that he could secure contracts with the Trump administration. That happened. He either collected the bribe or didn't collect the bribe, but said he would do that. That's what happened. It's also a little weird, a little coincidental that your Department of Justice, JD Vance, closed the case before an investigation was allowed to actually persist. Because remember, Tom Homan was not the primary suspect in this case. This was a different case that he got caught up in. The feds opened up a new case on him, and then a few months later, that case goes away because Tom Homan was in good graces with Donald Trump.
I think that he's a good man. He gets death threats. He gets attacked. He gets constantly threatened by people because he has the audacity.
I want to make it clear, I don't condone sending anybody death threats. Okay? I think I forgot to mention that before, and it should go without saying. I don't think you should send death threats to Tom Homan. I don't think you should send death threats to Hassan Piker or AOC or Donald Trump or anybody. Just be normal. Have disagreement, have political disagreements with people. Detest them if they're deplorable, but don't fucking threaten to kill them, man. You're a psycho.
To want to enforce the country's immigration laws. I think that it would be a much more interesting story about why is it that Tom Homan, who is simply enforcing Americans' immigration laws, is getting constantly harassed and threatened to the point of death threats. That's a much more interesting question that I think journalists should focus on. We can agree to disagree on that question.
Well, wait, you said
You're not going to like the answer, JD Vance, is because Tom Homan's a disgusting pig who is using ICE as his own personal Gestapo to go after Hispanic people.
didn't take a bribe, but I'm not sure you answered the question. Are you saying that he did not accept the $50,000?
George, this story has been covered ad nauseum. He did not take a bribe. Did he accept $50,000? I'm sure that in the course of Tom Homan's life, he has been paid more than $50,000 for services. The question is, did he do something illegal? And there's
JD Vance, the question is, was he paid $50,000 for his service of guaranteeing a federal contract?
Absolutely no evidence that Tom Homan has ever taken a bribe or done anything illegal, which is why he's working in the administration.
I'm asking you, did he accept the $50,000 that was caught on the surveillance tape? Did he accept that $50,000 or not?
George, I don't know what you're talking about. Did he accept $50,000 for what?
He was recorded on an audio tape in September 2024, an FBI surveillance tape, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money?
Accepting $50,000 for doing what, George? I'm not even sure I understand the question. Is it illegal to take a payment for doing services? The FBI has not prosecuted him. I've never seen any evidence that he's engaged in criminal wrongdoing. Nobody has accused Tom of violating a crime, even the far left media like yourself. So I'm actually not sure what the precise question is. Did he accept $50,000? Honestly, George, I don't know the answer to that question. What I do know is that he didn't violate a crime.
So you don't, what was caught on the tape, you're saying right now you don't know whether or not he kept that money?
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why...
You saw media reports, but simultaneously don't know what you're talking about. You're saying that Tom Homan didn't accept a bribe, but maybe he accepted $50,000 for his services. Perhaps George Stephanopoulos could have been a little bit more specific in this regard and spelled it out for JD Vance, because Yale educated, by the way, and say... specifically, Tom Homan was caught on surveillance by the FBI accepting a $50,000 bribe for guaranteeing that he could secure government contracts for those who were inquiring. That is the charge that he was being brought up on. That is what the case would have centered around, except the case is gone now because the Department of Justice closed it. These facts are well reported.
People watch your program and why you're losing credibility, because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for your time this morning. Yeah, the Democrats shut down the government despite the Republicans having the presidency, having a majority in Congress, in both chambers of Congress, mind you. But it was it's the Democrats who shut the government down.